Nasty Nancy is excommunicated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Yes, you heard right. Yesterday afternoon, the Archbishop of San Francisco publicly announced that he had excommunicated Representative Nancy Pelosi of San Francisco, Speaker of the House of Representatives. The Most Reverend Salvatore J. Cordileone issued her an open notice to that effect. I'm going to talk about that notice, some technical difficulties that the Archdiocesan website is having, what that notice says, just how defiant Nancy Pelosi has been, and stick with me to the end of this video when I ask the church, what took you so long? Before I begin, I want to shout out to the sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt, the Trumpinator, saying, I'll be back. While I'm at it, I also want to shout out to another sponsor, BitNext. BitNext is your replacement for Zoom, Slack, the Google G Suite, Microsoft Office 365, Dropbox, WeTransfer, and Chili Piper, among others. Unlike any of them, BitNext protects your content and conversations so well that even the administrators can't see it. So this is your channel for secure comms, conferencing, cloud storage, and file sharing. Best of all, everything is back-end, so you don't even need client software. If you have a browser, you can use BitNext. Follow the link and give them a try. 28 days free of charge. You can't beat that with a stick. All right, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't exactly a papal bull, but it is definitely a special bulletin from the Catholic Church anyway. The Archbishop of San Francisco first published his notice to Nancy Pelosi on the website of the Archdiocese of San Francisco, but within 5 hours, the site began having technical issues. As of this moment, the original link does not work. Indeed, all attempts to reach the domain sfarchdiocese.org resolve as HTTP 403 forbidden. And changing browsers doesn't work either. I tried Firefox by Mozilla and the two Chromium browsers, Vivaldi and Brave. No joy with any of them. Well, the Archbishop knows about the technical problems, so he republished his notice on Catholic World Report. The Archbishop has not announced why he thinks his archdiocesan website won't work. But hey, remember what Ian Fleming said about coincidences. I quote, once is happenstance, twice is coincidence, and the third time it's enemy action, unquote, Ian Fleming. This looks to me like a distributed denial of service attack on the site. That would be in keeping with spectacles like parading in front of Supreme Court justices' houses in violation of the law, which Nasty Nancy actively encouraged, and vandalism at crisis pregnancy clinics or pro-life organizational offices, including one tossing of a Molotov cocktail. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave the original link in the description. Hey, maybe the Archdiocese will figure out how to beat the DDoS attack and it will work again. I'll also leave a link to the notice in Catholic World Report. And you know what else? I'm going to leave a link to where you can find the notice on the Wayback machine. Let's see those abortion-supporting ghouls set up a DDoS attack on them. Besides Catholic World Report, other sources for this story include Just the News, The Blaze, Independent Journal Review, American Liberty News, and SF Gate. In addition, we have 5 tweets from the Archbishop himself. I'm going to leave links in the description to all of those. I'll just mention that in the last one, the Archbishop set up a rose and a rosary for Nancy Pelosi at the Benedict XVI Institute. Now, what did Nancy Pelosi do to rate excommunication? Archbishop Cordileone laid out his reasons in a notification he addressed to her. He began by citing the Vatican II decree, Gaudium et Spes, which says in part, from the first moment of conception, life must be guarded with the greatest care, while abortion and infanticide are unspeakable crimes. He also cited a letter by Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger to the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops in 2004. In that letter, the future Pope Benedict XVI explicitly called on Catholic clergy to refuse communion to any politician who supports abortion. That procedure derives from the one that Jesus himself outlined for dealing with a brother in sin. You'll find that at Matthew 18, verses 15 through 20. Accordingly, the Archbishop said he has met with Nancy Pelosi often in the past, but ever since she supported H.R. 3755 for a federal abortion code, she has refused to see the Archbishop again. He wrote to her on April 7, 2022, asking her to either repudiate her support for abortion or else stop pretending in public that her Catholic teachings permit it. She did neither, as we all observe. In fact, she wrote a disgustingly unrepentant and defiant op-ed in the Seattle Times and made an equally offensive public statement which she put out on her Twitter account. And I have a link in the description of that too. So finally, having had enough, the Archbishop excommunicated her. He cited the Code of Canon Law, Canon 383, Section 1. Though he dates his letter on May 19th, he did not publish it until May 20th, yesterday. Excommunicating Nancy Pelosi is not the Archbishop's first stand on a controversial issue. Recently, he signed an open letter to German bishops urging them to desist from taking woke stances and repudiating Scripture. And on January 22nd of this year, in the West Coast Walk for Life, he offered a homily against abortion and more broadly against diluting Christian teachings with worldly ideas. Now let's think about this. I am not a Catholic. I am a Protestant. But I still wonder, what took the church so long to act? And why did Pope Francis actually tell President Joe Biden that he should still take communion? Or did the president lie about that? In fact, what about all those other Democrats who claim to be Catholic and still promote abortion? I'll tell you what I think. It reminds me of Revelation 3, verse 8, the one that talks about, and here I paraphrase, a congregation of Satan who claim to be Christians, so they are not. They're lying. Serious business. And in that vein, the Ratzinger letter went out in 2004. Such a letter should have come out long before this. And regarding Nancy Pelosi, she has been a communicant in the Archdiocese of San Francisco for decades. During that time, she has seen archbishops of San Francisco come and go. Salvatore Cordileone has held the post since 2012. Why did it take him 10 years to act? You can't say that her open advocacy of abortion began with H.R. 3755, which the House passed last year in reaction to the Texas Heartbeat Act. She has always advocated for abortion, perhaps more vehemently today than ever, but still for a very long time. Now, make no mistake, I applaud the Archbishop for finally acting as he did, but in his place, I don't think I would have been as patient with Nancy Pelosi or any other Democrat as he has been. Part of letting every soul be subject himself to the governing authorities, you'll find that in Romans 13 verses 1 through 7, by the way, is holding those authorities to a high standard of official conduct. Nancy Pelosi fell short of that standard. She has always fallen short of that standard, so I repeat, the Archbishop did the right thing, but he or one of his predecessors should have done it long before this. Links to the description of the article, 3 links to the notice of excommunication, to the Archbishop's 5 tweets, to the Nancy Pelosi video, and to conservative news and views. I have another link to the awesome online store and to BitNext, as I mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video and subscribe to this channel. This is Terry A. Hurlbut, delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.